Hi, welcome back to Close Up. So tomorrow marks the home stretch of the New Hampshire primary race and perhaps the most important time of it. So who has the energy? And some are wondering if this primary could be the end of it as we've come to know it. Joining me to talk about it this morning, the state chairs of their respective parties, Democrat Ray Buckley and Republican Jennifer Horn. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. So Jen, let's start with you. I mean, what do you think is happening? Big picture, we're talking about the New Hampshire primary and its future. A lot of people feel like it's in jeopardy. What do you think is going on?
Well, there's no question that we have to preserve what we do here in New Hampshire. We cannot ever, go to a day where our candidates for the highest office in the land are chosen based on who's got enough money to run TV commercials nationally. That it can't only be for the big dollar folks. What we do here in New Hampshire is so important, forcing the candidates to come down face to face to the voters, have those conversations eye to eye. And that's really, quite honestly, where I think so much of the energy on the Republican side of this election, this time around has been coming from. The candidates are in the state constantly. Doors are open to everybody, coming and going, filling the room. This is what it's all about, New Hampshire. We have to make sure we preserve that.
Chairman Buckley?
Well, I agree with the first half of what she said. Obviously, it's critically important that we do preserve what's important. For those of us who grew up in New Hampshire, I was in elementary school interviewing candidates for president, and that's exactly what every young person in New Hampshire should be doing, whether they're Republican or Democratic. And it's critically important that we not make this about what's going on the national level and give everybody a fair shake and a fair shot here in New Hampshire, which is exactly why there's so much energy and excitement, and the turnout on the Democratic side is going to exceed what's going to happen on the Republican side on February 9th.
Yeah, after the debate on the 19th, Bernie Sanders came upstairs to talk to us, did an interview. He was very clear. He didn't mince any words in saying that he felt like the DNC, the National Democratic Party, was orchestrating the whole thing from protecting Hillary Clinton, its chosen front runner, to hiding the debate on the Saturday before Christmas. I mean, do you share any of those concerns? They're using a lot of the national polling data, which we're seeing on both sides when it comes to getting on the debate stage.
Well, I'm very proud that all three of the campaigns have nothing but praise for the New Hampshire Democratic Party, and that we really run a fair operation here in the state of New Hampshire, and that's exactly what we'll continue to do.
And of course, the concern with what we see happening on the side of the DNC right now is that there is such an effort from the national level to control what voters have access to. The point that you just made, that so many have made, running such just a handful of debates and essentially airing them when nobody even turns their television on. It's so what we do here in New Hampshire isn't just about what happens on the ground. It's the whole idea behind it is access to the candidates, that the voters can really have the opportunity to do the vetting. And when you see what's happening at the DNC, it's not just that they're trying to keep folks from seeing the debates. They're essentially have chosen their candidate and trying to push her forward. There's Hillary Clinton and the coronation process that's been executed by not just Debbie Wasserman Schultz, but by all the folks who are officers at the DNC, including Ray Buckley here in New Hampshire. It's disappointing. It's not the way it's supposed to work, and I think it's really damaging to the process.
Take a few seconds.
I am 100% in favor of Donald Trump debating 7 days a week, live on MUR every single day. I think that, look, at the New Hampshire primary has always been about the living rooms, the town hall meetings, and shaking the people's hands on the local main streets. And I think that's what the people in New Hampshire, and that's why there's going to be more Democrats voting in the presidential primary than on the Republican side.
All right, so let's talk about Donald Trump. We can't avoid it, especially when we talk about energy. People say he brings a new kind of it to this race, and you've kind of walked right there on the edge, too. I mean, given your role as the state party chair,
right.
But it's tough not to react to some of the things that this guy says.
And I've applauded her.
Well, I think that it's important to understand that throughout my time as chairman, I've always acted entirely within the bylaws. I always will. Nothing will ever change about that. I think that across America, people are looking for a change. I think the reason we see so much anger and so much frustration and disappointment in Washington is because of the failed leadership of Barack Obama, of Hillary Clinton, of the entire Democratic leadership for the past 7 years now. And I think that people are feeling a genuine fear, a disappointment, a concern about what the future of our country looks like. We need a leader. We need a nominee from our party who can go forward and not just unite the party, but unite the nation and bring us together again and move us forward and lift us up and inspire people and kind of remind the American people of how great we are and what we're capable of as a nation. I am confident that that is what the Republican Party is going to offer.
But Jennifer, you look at the television ads that are playing wall to wall on MUR right now. And they're either one of two things: a Republican attacking another Republican, or a Republican trying to rip the country down. There's no message of positive. There's no sense that there's going to be a better tomorrow. It's all about fear. It's about negativity. It's about trying to rip down everybody.
I'll make the point that obviously the Republican field is much bigger than Martin O'Malley isn't running ads, and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
But you don't see them attacking
what
each
you
other.
see on the Republican side, Josh, is what I think is a very engaging, intelligent, engaged debate. It's a free and open exchange of ideas, something that's not allowed on the Democratic side, something that the Democrats have fought very hard to diminish. And I'll say with great passion and sincerity, we are the party of Lincoln. We are the party of a woman's right to vote, of civil rights. We're the party of the Bill of Rights. And the fact that our primary has 12 people in there,
I just
and it
heard
might look a little bit messy
Lincoln's-
when they start to
Lincoln
go
just
back and
rolled over
forth
in
and
his
have
grave,
that
I
exchange.
think.
I'll take that every day of the week over a party that's trying to limit access and silence the people and to pick their nominee ahead of time.
But you're actually the
So-
party of limiting women's right to equal pay. Kelly Ayotte, one of the votes that are fighting equal pay for women in the country. You're the party of limiting access for African Americans to actually vote, even though that's something that we should be all.
So Mr. Buckley knows that the statements that he's making are false.
Sure.
And he's
Of course they're
advancing
not.
Let's not let this devolve
and
into-
he's
Right.
advancing a candidate, quite honestly, who has a history of hypocrisy on issues like equal pay. This election, when it comes around to November, is going to be about setting our nation on a new and better path. There is no doubt in my mind that we're going to have the strongest possible nominee to do
I only
that.
have 2 minutes to go, and I want you both to have a chance to respond. The front runner nationally in both of these parties, perhaps their biggest problem that they have to overcome isn't their position on policy, but maybe integrity. And I'm talking about the questions surrounding Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and the things that he says. How does the Democratic Party first make the case for the front runner that she can be trusted when there's so many questions surrounding it, emails, all that, Benghazi?
We absolutely believe that once we leave Philadelphia in July, that the country will rally around our nominee, as opposed to the Republican nominee that will have been selected in Cleveland just weeks before. Very positive, upbeat. New Hampshire, this is going to be a great year for Democrats here in New Hampshire. We've swept the entire ticket the last 2 presidential cycles. We have every indication to do this again. So great Democrats are going to be putting together a ticket, and we will at that point have every single major elective office in the state of New Hampshire. And thank you for that, Jennifer.
Good. And as you know, it is way too early to call, even here in New Hampshire. The vast majority of our voters are undecided. And what's going to happen when this is all over and we've selected our nominees, we're going to go forward with a very clear message of honesty, integrity, transparency in government, leadership, a strong nation, a strong economy. And it's simply an argument that Hillary Clinton, when she becomes the Democratic nominee, cannot make. She has a history of hypocrisy, dishonesty. It has been proved the American people simply do not trust her. Sending emails from your bathroom with classified information on them is not the leader that America is going to choose.
I got 20 seconds. You get the last word after the bathroom comment.
I have no idea what she's talking about, but I do know that Kelly Ayotte will be on Fox News faster than she's going to be in the second term.
Well, we'll see about that. But I think one thing we can all agree on, plenty of contrast here, is that the New Hampshire primary is important, and that we've got to make sure that we do our jobs and turn out. Everybody needs to,
That's
right?
right.
It's going to be a great turnout. We're looking forward to a
It's gonna
huge
be
mega event the Friday night
Great year
before
for
at the
Republican
Verizon.
leadership.
Okay.
A
Thanks
great
very much,
year.
guys.
Thank
And
you.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.